Monstrums, the time is nigh. Under the red moons, the wicked and the defiant shall be punished. Ascend into this unbreaking night, unsheath your curse, and smite the darkness.
The E-Series has always been an underappreciated RPG franchise, with quality releases dating back over 30 years. Ys 9 Monstrum Nox continues the series' tradition of kinetic action combat and incredible music, while adding new movement abilities and a compelling story that elevates it above its predecessors. Monstrum Nox is not only the best Ys game, but one of the very finest RPGs on the PlayStation 4. And if you enjoy JRPGs and want to stay up to date with the latest reviews and other fun videos, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything.
We just got here, Adel. Can't you go 5 minutes without leaping into trouble?
It seems as if our favorite red-haired hero's adventures have finally caught up with him. In Ys 9, Adel and his trusty companion Dogi find themselves in Balduq, a war-torn city known for its massive prison. Almost immediately, Adel is taken into custody for questioning. Word of his exploits has traveled far and wide, and the Empire believes he's to blame for all these incidents.
Poor Adel. You get blamed for everything.
As a longtime fan of the series, it was really neat to see Ys 9 specifically reference past games. Each game always felt like a self-contained story, but now they all feel like chapters in a much larger, ongoing saga. Some of these references can be so on the nose at times that they border on breaking the fourth wall.
It seems that shipwrecks are a common occurrence for you. Even sailors and fishermen don't experience a fraction of the accidents you've been in.
While in prison, Adel meets the enigmatic Aprilis. Without much explanation, she transforms him into a monstrum, a warrior with enhanced abilities cursed with the eternal duty of fending off the Grimwall Nox. The Grimwall Nox is a plane of existence that emanates over the city of Balduq, with never-ending hordes of monsters threatening it. Admittedly, I never really got invested in the stories of past Ys games. They felt like they were there to move the player from one location to the next rather than being interesting on their own. Ys 9's story is actually compelling. Not only does it leave you trails of breadcrumbs to follow, slowly peeling away layers of the game's mysteries, but also does a great job of endearing you to its characters. The first dozen or so hours slowly introduce you to your fellow monstrums, each getting their own chapter. This not only allows you to get to know each character at a nice pace, but also makes you care. Instead of them just being the cat girl or the blonde guy with swords, you learn about their motivations and they turn into fleshed out characters. One interesting touch in Ys 9 are small dialogue choices. They have no real impact on the story, but help Adel feel like an actual character. In past games, he's mostly been a silent protagonist, making him feel like a bystander. While minor, these dialogue choices give Adel a welcome personality that hasn't really existed in past Ys games. The only real knock I have against this story are these vignette segments that come at the end of chapters for about 2/3 of the game. You play as a prisoner inside of Balduq prison whose identity I won't spoil, trying to piece together its layout. These segments bring the pace to a screeching halt. You'll have just wrapped up an exhilarating romp through a dungeon, learn more about the story, and want to just get right back to it. Instead, you're forced to go through these slow, boring sections of basically just walking around. By the end of the game, you'll understand why they're there, but I feel like these could have been executed way better. Despite these annoyances, they don't take away from what otherwise is an engrossing story, and hands down the best the E-Series has seen yet.
I saw how you fought during that Nox. You're pretty good with a sword, aren't ya?
In a lot of ways, Ys 9 is very derivative of Ys 8, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Returning is a nearly identical combat system with a party of up to 3 characters that you can swap between on the fly. Moment-to-moment gameplay has a fast, kinetic flow to it. When you're in a dungeon or field area, there's always an object to break, material to gather, or enemy to fight. It's a constantly satisfying feeling as you're always seconds away from engaging with something fun or helpful. Further enhancing this is the necessity to swap to different characters. Each has one of 3 attack types that certain monsters are weak to. Attacking with the wrong type can take way longer than necessary, but the right type can take them out in seconds. What's nice about this system is that later in the game you acquire items that allow you to change your character's attack type, so you're not stuck with characters you don't like. I ended up doing this with the doll because she was so much fun, but felt like a wasted roster spot because her and Adel share the same attack type. The only real change to combat besides gifts, which I'll touch on in a minute, is your super meter. Instead of immediately unleashing a big attack, you enter an enhanced state for a short period of time where your attack increases and you refill life. You can also unleash a big attack while in this state if you activate it before your meter runs out. Similar features that return from Ys 8 in new ways are a bar that serves as your home base with various merchants you can recruit from side quests, raid battles now called miasma vortexes where you fend off hordes of spawning monsters, and vendors you can report side activities to for small rewards. Your bar, the Dandelion, is super nice because anything you could possibly need is right there. Instead of having to run all over town to various vendors, it's all in one central location. Miasma vortexes feel a little undercooked. For the first handful, most enemies spawn in one general location and it feels like you're just fighting an ever-expanding blob. For how good the movement feels, just sitting by a spawn point and spamming square feels unsatisfying. Eventually you can expand your defenses, which make these fights a little more interesting, but still end up feeling inelegant compared to the raids from Ys 8. There is a variation that's much more fun and takes better advantage of Ys 9's mechanics. There will be a number of crystals scattered throughout the level that you'll need to destroy before time runs out. This feels so much better because not only do you still engage in combat, but also utilize Ys 9's fantastic movement mechanics. Speaking of which, let's finally dive into Ys 9's real game changer, the gifts. Gifts are special abilities that each character has that enhance movement and exploration. For example, Adel's gift allows him to zip to specific markers around the environment, White Cat's allows her to run up walls, and the Doll's allows her to see hidden locations and items. What makes the gifts so fun to use is that Balduke has been brilliantly designed with these in mind. Scattered throughout the city are collectibles and small activities. These can range from glowing blue objects called astral petals or points of interest that highlight the city in some way. To find these, you'll need to utilize your gifts in creative ways. Balduke is also quite vertical, so you'll not just be exploring back alleyways, but also the tops of tall buildings. These activities never take more than a few seconds to complete, so there's a really addictive quality to them. Before you know it, you might even clear out an entire sector's worth of activities. To make these even more rewarding, each activity has a vendor tied to them. Whenever you collect a certain amount, you're rewarded with some kind of helpful item. This was such a satisfying game loop that I found myself stuck in it for hours at a time.
This is a really big room. Wait, something's coming!
The E-Series has a storied history of great bosses, and while Ys 9's bosses start off a little bland, they eventually get really good. The first handful just feel like meat shields that swing at you. You can easily beat them with little thought. Eventually they not only get more interesting, but require you to utilize your gifts in fun ways. The final boss, who I won't spoil here, has you utilizing just about every one of your gifts, making it a satisfying climactic fight. I also want to touch on the difficulty. I started on normal and that felt way too easy. I was barely taking damage and winning fights with ease. Eventually I bumped it up to hard, which felt more like a normal difficulty should. If you have any kind of experience playing action games, be sure to play on hard at the very least if you want any kind of challenge.
And a doll you certainly are. You're even cuter than I thought.
Developer Falcom has never been about bleeding edge visuals, but thanks to Ys 9 being built from the ground up for PS4, it looks the best the series ever has. The city of Balduke is one seamless environment. This gives the world a great sense of scale that the series hasn't seen before. Despite this, there still are instances of pop-in, but ultimately they don't sour the experience in any big way. The frame rate is unfortunately quite inconsistent. In tighter dungeons, it usually sticks to a rock-solid 60 frames per second, but in busier districts of Balduke or when there's a lot of enemies on screen, it can easily dip below 30. I'm playing on a base PS4, so it's possible this is alleviated on a PS4 Pro or a PS5. This does, however, have me worried about the eventual Switch release, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I have to say, Ys 9 feels quite cinematic. The way scenes are set up and the way the camera moves gives story segments a certain high-quality feel to them. Whether it was due to hardware limitations in the past or Falcom simply wanting to step their game up, it's a welcome improvement that longtime fans should notice right away. Music continues to be a highlight in Ys 9 with plenty of rock and guitar tracks. I found myself listening to a handful of them over and over outside of playing the game itself because they're that good. These help accentuate the already exhilarating gameplay. When you're in a good flow exploring and fighting monsters with awesome music to accompany it, there's nothing quite like it.
Come forth, my monstrums, and consume this dark night.
Ys 9 Monstrum Nox takes the formula established in Ys 8 and improves upon it in a number of remarkable ways. The story is easily the most compelling in the series, the side content feels more rewarding, and the gifts bring an exhilarating new dimension to exploration. Clocking in at around 25 hours, this felt like the perfect length without overstaying its welcome. There's also plenty of content that I didn't finish that I plan on going back to. Ys 9 was hands down my most anticipated game going into 2021, and it delivered in every way imaginable. I know it's only February, but this is my early frontrunner for Game of the Year. If you have any appreciation for a great action RPG, then make sure you don't miss Ys 9. Now if you want to know what other JRPGs you can look forward to in 2021, be sure to check out my last video where I share 23 JRPGs you'll be able to play this year. And if you want to stay up to date with more JRPG reviews, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.